everyone. Um, Good morning, afternoon, or evening to you, depending on what time you are listening to this live event. I'm very happy to bring this to to bear today. A topic that calls for a lot of attention, and it's about how to fight accidental data oversharing before adopting co-pilots. As the saying goes, whatever that is sweet has its own bad side or needs you to be conscious of the consumption. So Copilot, no doubt, has bring a lot of revolutionization into our day-to-day activities. That said, if we are not careful, we may just be exposing data to who is not supposed to have access to it. And because it has come to work out a lot of things, some persons are only carried away by the output of their prompt and they are wowed by the response, the accuracy of the responses, and they just keep exploring the capability of co-pilots, especially now that AI has become a a tool that no one can do without in the modern days work generally, right? So people just write prompts and then they keep exploring. But do you know that Copilot uses the permissions you have on documents that is based on what Microsoft Graph is giving it as information? So just before we go right into the topic of discussion, we may want to see how Copilot really respond to people's prompts, right? Where does it source its information and how does M365 Copilot get the accuracy of the accurate information it is outputting from the prompts that you provided to it. So it is very important that users understand this, but admins, most importantly, should understand what it is. And this can really help you to minimize compliance issues, right? That could even lead to court cases, right? So you can really, if you understand how it goes, then you would know how to put your organization in the most prepared state before adopting Copilot. Or if you are currently consuming the product already, then you should quickly run back to patch where you feel you have some leakages or possible leakages. So we'll go to a diagram that I have here that makes a lot of things easier for us. I will bring it on the screen now. And this is really the diagram. So what is it telling us? Let me see if I can zoom the diagram in a bit, just for better visibility, right? I want to believe that it is done from your end now. So you see what happens is that the stage one, right? When a user sends a prompt to Copilot, what it does is it goes to Microsoft Graph, right, to check the users, the information that the user has requested for. And this is actually what is called grounding. So grounding is trying to filter through the information at Copilot disposal. And then when that information is available here, so there is a return to the large language model, right, where prompts are modified, right, to to denote what the user requested for. And then the bottom line is that at the fourth state, when the information is about to be given to the user, the information comes back to consult with Microsoft Graph to ask if the information that it is being requested for, that the user has access to it. So the first step is the user prompts are sent to Copilot, right? And then the second point is Copilots would go and access Microsoft Graph to ask the user's permission on that particular information, or that particular information that it's available. Then it use that information to fetch through the system and fetch the information out, right? Then the Copilot will send like the modified prompt to the LLM. So when LLM receives the response, Copilot would reach out again to Microsoft Graph to confirm if the user who is requesting for the information has the required access before that information is given to him or her, as the case may be. So this is how the functionality really works, from the first step to Copilot talking with Microsoft Graph for grounding, and then it sends the prompt back for modification to use the LLM. And then what happens is that when Copilot receive the response from LLM, right, instead of it to give it back to the user immediately, so what it will do is it will send the prompt back to sorry, I'm just receiving some signals here that I need to take care of. So it sends the outcome to Copilot to confirm if the user has permission on the file. And really, the information here today, I mean, the point of concentration here today is that final stage where Copilot access the graph for compliance and purview before releasing that information to the user. Compliance and purview in this time is talking about the user's access, right, to the file that the user is requesting for. So what we need to be aware is that for a user to have information about, to get information back from the prompt, the user needs to have at least a read access permission on the file that is being shared with him or her, or where Copilot is sourcing the prompt for. And that's what Microsoft Graph really helps the system to do, right? Now, what we want to look at today, as the topic implies, is fighting against accidental data oversharing before Copilot goes live. And then at what point are we looking at? We're looking at that point where Microsoft Graph is now ready to say, okay, the information that this user has requested for is available, apart from the fact that it is available, that the user has access to the file that we can give him the outcome of this prompt. But the big question is that what if the files were not, what if this user's access to it was not intentional? Copilot is not smart enough to know if you mistakenly share data to someone. So when you share data, right, you have levels of access to the file, which include view, restricted view, edit permission, and then ownership of the form, right? So if you look at view, the difference between view and restricted view just demands that if you can view and then you can delete, you can download the file, what it means that you have a full view permission on that file. But if you can view and you should not be able to download the file, what that means is that you have restricted view on that file. So if you were not even supposed to have access to a file, or you were supposed to have like a restricted view on a file, and then we are sharing it with you with an edit permission, then it means that this is data oversharing. Because the access you really need on the file we are talking about do not require you to be able to edit the file. All we needed you to be able to do was to be able to view this file and not able to either edit it, or we want to even limit it to say you should only be able to view, you should not be able to download, neither should you be able to print the file. So if by mistake that kind of file is being shared with a user, deliberately or unintentionally, right? And then the user can now download a file that is not supposed to be able to download, is now able to edit a file that is not supposed to be able to edit, or is not able to delete a file that is not supposed to be able to delete. then it becomes a problem, right? So it becomes a problem, right? So this is what is called data oversharing. So I want to bring up this second. So the point now is, let's get to the admin center and really look at what we need to look at today. So I'm bringing up my admin center. I really need to check some things about how to manage data oversharing. All right, so apologies for that slight break. I'm bringing up my this. Yeah, so there are some things that we need to look at today. And what are they? If you want to adopt Copilot, you need to get ready for Microsoft 365 Copilot with SharePoint Advanced Management System. So the point is that you need to use SharePoint in a way that you are in charge of your data. In a way that you are in charge of your data, you really know what is going on with the data you are storing. So, for instance, all the files that you have in M365, the chief of the storage that you have is SharePoint and then OneDrive. So your access to your level of files that you have sitting on your OneDrive and your SharePoint will require you to be in charge of that information that you have there. So if you come to your admin center, for example, right, and let me just say I go to SharePoint admin center, coming here to cmd.ms, and then I come here to M365. Let me search for SharePoint. So if I go to my SharePoint admin center, what am I going to see? Let's have it there. I want to speak about the level of access on files. So when it comes to file share, is a big topic of conversation when you talk about the policy in file sharing. By default, organizations are to be able to share file with anyone. What it means is that users can share file and folder using link that does not require signing. So if all your permissions are at this level, it means that you may be intentionally or unintentionally sharing files outside of the organization, and anyone can really have access to them. So now the point is, you can actually regulate what is here to say you are limiting it to people only within your organization. No doubt, this is not a problem. It can really be managed this way. But there is a particular set of users in your organization, or there's a particular group that gets created when you have your tenants, and that is called everyone except external user. Now let's paint a situation where you have a particular file that needed to only be visible to a set of persons, let's say people in HR, right? And then unfortunately, the data was shared with everyone within your organization except external user. This setting still works, right? Because you blocked everybody outside of your organization. But does it now mean that everybody within your organization should have access to that particular file? Or is it that everyone should have access to all the files in your organization? Definitely no. So how do you manage this situation? Because if you come to this OneDrive folder of this user, let me just bring up this, for example. I want to show you a group that is really very alarming. And if you are not careful, it becomes a problem, right? Let me just quickly obey these security checks on my account, and then we can go ahead. Just click OK there. If I come here, right, and then I click on this, or I click on this and I want to share the employee onboarding policy. Take for instance, everyone except external user. Or maybe okay, I think I've disabled it on this particular tenant, right? Oh, I think it's anyone, not everyone. Anyone. Let me see. Okay, so I think we'll deal with that when we get to look at the other stuff, because that's trying to to act up on this event right now. So the point is, if we come to the SharePoint Admin Center, right, you have a lot of settings that you could do. You could say that when you share a file by default, it should default to view only, so that when you share a file with someone that needs an edit permission, you have to intentionally put it at edit permission. If you want the person to be able to view, you're supposed to put it in view. But if your default setting says can edit is the access anybody you send a link to is going to have, it means that you may just be sharing a file that was supposed to be on view only, but with edit permission, and that can really cause problems. But all these are available on standard SharePoint license, which is not what we want to concentrate on today. So I will really bring us to this document now so that we can read through what Microsoft is telling us about M365 Copilot with SharePoint Advanced Management, right? So use SharePoint to govern your organization data, right? So to ensure assistance provided by Copilot is one, accurate, two, compliant, and then that it is even fast. As your organization SharePoint admin, it is crucial for you to ensure that your organization data is appropriately governed from the three aspects. One of it is manage content sprawl. What is content sprawl? It just means that try as much as possible to remove duplicated data, because Copilot feeds on the data, right, that you have available in your environment. And chief of this storage is SharePoint and your OneDrive environment. So you need to try to reduce as much as possible the contents that are duplicated within your environment. Let's say, for example, policy draft, right, that are of different versions. So when you have like the final draft of it, keeping too many duplicates of that policy while it was before the maturity state can actually lead to confusion when Copilot is trying to source information that it needs to use. Then prevent content oversharing by controlling content access. So use the available SharePoint admin sites and owner role to prevent users from oversharing content. Like we're trying to say, you may want to limit your particular SharePoint site to the point that it can only share files within people within your organization, one. And secondly, you want to make sure that sites that are really private, that you treat them as private sites, not opening a site as public site when it needed to only be private. So limit content access by Copilot with using group setting. So the point is that if you have a SharePoint site, for instance, that you never want Copilot to be able to process the content of that site because of a reason that you may be considering, maybe compliance reason. You can really, with SharePoint Advanced Management tool, you can really restrict SharePoint from processing information from that particular site, and we are going to be looking at that soon. So manage content lifecycle also. So you need to remove inactive and outdated content and sites, right? So make sure that information that Copilot is processing is really accurate to reduce confusions, and then giving you inaccurate prompts. So use SharePoint Advanced Management to get your organization ready for Copilot. Now there is what is called the SharePoint Advanced Management license, right? The SharePoint Advanced Management license is actually an add-on license you can add to the base license. However, if you are using Copilot, then you have some capabilities that are coming from it. I will really be looking at that license in no time, right? So Microsoft SharePoint Premium or SharePoint Advanced Management is essential Microsoft 365 add-on that will help you as a SharePoint admin to address three. pillars around content governance, right? So to get ready for your organization Microsoft 365 Copilot adoption, there are few highly recommended steps that you should take, primarily using Copilot Advanced Management tool. Now, this step reduce one, accidental data oversharing, right? And then minimize your content governance footprint, and then improve Copilot quality. Okay, so just give me a second. Let me attend to something here. All right, so one of the things that you need to look out for is that you need to reduce accidental oversharing with Copilot setting, right? That's one of the things that you can achieve using the SharePoint Advanced Management tool. So to minimize accidental content sharing via Copilot results, so it is crucial for you to take care of this data oversharing. At the organization level, you need to update sharing link defaults for your organization. For also trying to reduce the risk around accidental misuse, or consider hiding, broad scope permission for your end users. So you should try as much as possible to hide the everyone except external user. I'm not sure why this was not coming up for me in this tenant. I'm sure maybe I'm thinking whether I have hidden that already. So let me go to my files and still try that out once more, because this group is a group that let me try this to share, and then let me put that everyone here. Okay, so you can see it, everyone except external user. So what is this going to do? This is going to share a file with everybody in the organization, right? Even those who will not even know that they have access to the file. So once you do that, once you do share with everyone, right, except external user, let's take for instance, this is the HR documents that only HR members should be able to have access to. But by mistake or intentionally, the file was shared with everyone except external user. So what this is going to lead to is the fact that HR will not be aware that the file has already been shared with people, right? And the people may not even be aware that they have shared this file with them. But if by chance they are working on Copilot, and at an instant in time, by mistake or somehow, a prompt was sent out and they got the output from that particular document, it may arouse curiosity. It may arouse curiosity, and that curiosity may make them want to dig deeper into the system to understand how much of data they have access to. So the point is, let let us come here. Everyone except external user in the people picker can, you need to control this. Apologies. Hide everyone except external user in the people picker to control, so that no one who should not have access to a file should have access to it. At the site level also, you need to consider advising or educating the the admins of your different sites to make sure that they keep everything within control. Then second point is that ensure all sites have valid owners. Ensure that all sites have valid owners. They should have people who can moderate the activities that are happening there. Then again, you need to clean up unused sites, like we mentioned, just so you don't have stale content sitting there to confuse the system when a prompt is sent, right? So also you need to identify sites with potentially oversharing or overshared documents or content within them. Then the site activities based report also can be looked at, right? So the permission based oversharing baseline reports, then control access to content, and then set site access review by site owners is very important. And all of this can really be achieved by the SharePoint Advanced Management License. Now, the point is, what is that SharePoint Advanced Management License? I think I have something opened here that speaks to it. Let me see if that is here, so that I can bring that up. Okay, I will just search for it. Okay, this is it, honestly. Oh, that's cool. So the SharePoint Advanced Management Overview. So if you have access to the SharePoint Advanced Management license, you're going to be able to easily manage content sprawl. You're going to be able to manage site ownership policy, and then you have an AI insights, and then you would have further information about inactive sites and the policies. You can create policies to track down on those sites, and then you can manage content lifecycle as well, which we are going to be doing, and then you can do site change history reports, and then the recent actions. You can carry out lots of things that you can do. And apart from all those, data access governance management via PowerShell is all available for you to run. And then conditional access policy for SharePoint and OneDrive site comes with this. And in all of this, what is interesting is that, yes, if you want to have this as an add-on beyond even Copilot, then you go for it at $3 per user per month, and it is a user-based license, right? But as this license is standing, you could also, if you have the Microsoft 365 Copilot, so what that implies is that you have access to the capabilities, or some of the capabilities that are in the SharePoint management, the SharePoint Advanced Management license. The following SharePoint Advanced Management features are included in Copilot license. So advanced tenants rename, AI insight, block policy, change history, data governance, PowerShell restriction content discovery, and then recent admin actions. All of these are available. Site lifecycle are there. So haven't shown you around the licensing requirements for advanced, or what advanced management, SharePoint Advanced Management license can do for you, and the benefit of having it in your tenant, right? Because you are using Copilot. Let's now explore what you can really dive into using that feature. So let's come into our Copilot, our SharePoint Admin Center this time. If you come here and look at policy, if you have Copilot license, or if you have the advanced management, the SharePoint Advanced Management license, you would find what is called site lifecycle management. And in site lifecycle management, you have inactive site policies, you have the site ownership policy. What is the inactive site policy going to do for you? The inactive site policy is going to help you create and configure policies that will help you identify inactive sites. They will help you send notification to owners or admins of the site to confirm if the site are still going to be useful. And then you can also take a decision on automatically archiving or marking the site as inactive if the owners of the site do not confirm to you that the site are still in use. So if you have this, right, you can come to open down here, and then what it means is that you can create policies, you can create multiple policies. So if you check this test inactive site policy that I have here, what is the settings I have on it? It has been able to discover 21 inactive sites for me. And then it's saying that for more information on the active sites, last active dates, storage use, etc., refer to the report below. So it means I can download this report right now and see it in CSV, right? And then also, if I come to scope, then I can use classic sites. The scope is covering classic site, communication site, group connected to site, and all of that. Then if you look at the configuration, what it is saying is that no activity for the last 3 months is going to mark it as an inactive site. And then who should be notified to confirm if this site can remain in is excuse me, who should be notified via email if site has been inactive. So if the site is inactive, who should we reach out to ask, hey, why is this site inactive? Or should we, is it still useful, like kind of a review on the site, right? So what action should the policy take on an inactive site that have not been certified by the site owner or site admin after 3 notifications? So what this is going to do is it will send a notification to the admin to say, hey, is this site still active? One, is this site still active? Two, and another notification making three if this user is not making decision regarding the site. So what's going to happen is that the decision I said they should take is that the site should be set to read only. That's the decision I'm taking on it. So the general information is just going to tell you about the policy name, and if you have any description on it, you're going to have it here. So now let's quickly create one for ourselves. So you're going to hit on create policy, and then it's saying sites are included in monthly inactive reports if they have had no visits, no edits, no file action, or no action on any connected resources like the Teams, the Viva Engage, or any group that is connected to it, right? So site exclude from policy are the OneDrive, the system, and the app, and all of these root home and admin sites. Now, send monthly email to site owners. So site owners will receive an email every month asking them to review the inactive sites and choose whether to keep or delete the site. Now, act on these sites that are inactive for more than 3 months. So after 3 months of getting consecutive email once in a month, if there are no actions from the site owner or site admin, you can configure the policy to either archive the site, where you would have set up archive on your SharePoint, or opt to take no action. You just want to take, what you just want to do is for you to maybe just audit what is going on. So we are going to hit on next. So let me just zoom in a bit. So my screen is a bit backward. So if that happens, right, so what are you going to do? The question is, which site should be checked for inactivity? You kind of come here to say, okay, maybe you want to say all the sites in your tenant should be checked, right? That is that. If you want to exclude any particular site, you can drop the URL of those sites one line after the other. Drop the link to a site and click on enter once, then drop a link again and click on enter again until you can exclude up to 100 different sites. But if you are not excluding anyone, of course, you can click on next, and then you're asking how long after the site activity should a site be considered inactive. You want to say, okay, after 2 months. You want to say, okay, after 1 month. If you say 1 month is too short, 2 months is not bad, but let's just say 3 months. 6 months is too long. Let's say after 3 months, if the site is inactive, every other month, send an email to the site admin or the owner, or you want to say site admin and the owner, right? Who should be notified via email if the site has been inactive. We are saying send an email to both the site admin and the site owner. So the next question is, what action should be taken on an inactive site that have not received, that have not been certified by the site owner or site admin after 3 notification? You can say take no action. This way, you're just trying to take an audit, right? But you can say no, take an action. Now, what action do you want to take? For now, it's only read only. If I want to do the archive, I need to first of all set the archive state of my SharePoint before pushing this one, before this will be active for me. So I will do next. So now it's asking for the policy name. So I just want to call it live events, live events, inactive sites, inactive site policy, inactive site policy rather, policy. So so if I want to put a description, I can just put the description here below just to give like what I want it to do. So when you finish, you have two options, either to run it in simulation or you want to put it in active mode. So you put it in active and you click on finish, and then the policy is created. So what that means is that whatever site that is not active, right, then whatever site that is not active for 3 months, the users, the admin, and then the owner gets prompts to say, hey, do you want to check if this site is still supposed to be active? So that's for site, inactive site. So there's also site ownership policy. So ideally, every site should have at least two owners, right? But on the worst case, it should have one owner. But what if the situation where a site does not even have an owner at all? Then it is not good, right? So with your SharePoint Advanced Management license, you would be able to check the owners of your site and know those sites that are ownerless and know how you want to assign owners to them. So you can really download the report. I didn't download the other one. So you can download the reports this way to look at those sites that do not have owners. These sites. These are the sites and their owner states rather. If you check this, you would see that you will the details about the site are here. The storage, the site creation date, inactivity, and then the total, the email for the site administrator, right? Email for admins, and these are for the owners. So this is saying this, there is zero owner for this site, zero owner for this, and then we have one owner for all other ones, apart from this, and this. So you may want to filter to see whose site does not have owners, right? So that way, by your own virtue of work, you may just want to say, okay, here you want to put a filter at owner, right? And then you filter to where you have zero. So if you filter zero, what that means is that these sites that are filtered out in my tenant do not have owners. And I really want to dive deep to find out why ABC of Cloud will not have owners, or Project M365 Public will not have owner. All of this will not have owners, right? So I want to make sure that we try to get owners for them. And what's the recommendation from the policy that we set? We say owners should be at least two. So why are all these zero? And it is very important that sites have owners to moderate it. So how do you create a policy to track ownership, right? And then give you feedback. The same thing that we did. So you do next, and then what sites are you interested in? You can select that. And then the next thing, do you want to exclude any site? You can exclude. And if you are fine, you can come here to say, okay, how many sites, how many owners do you want? So minimum number of admin that you want to require for each site, you can say, okay, let it be two. And then who should be responsible for each site? You want to maybe make it the owner of the site alone. If you want to add the site admin, you can as well do that. Then you are saying that, okay, who should be notified via email to assign or claim site responsibility? Now you want to say one, the current site admin, if any, and then manager of previous site owner. So this is speaking to the fact that if you have if you have a team or a site where someone used to be the owner and the person left. So manager information. So you are saying here that you should send a message to the manager to say, hey, this site does not have an owner that was managed by XYZ person who left, right? Do you want to assign an owner to it? So manager's information is only kept for 30 days about the user who left. So after the user leaves the organization, so you might want to receive only the notification based on when the owner or admin left the organization. So, and also you may want to say, okay, let you also send a mail to most active member of the site, right? And you can really count how many people you want to notify about the ownerless nature of that particular site. And then if choose what will take, I mean, what action will be taken on the site if recipients do not accept ownership of it, right? Or if there is no response from the person that was notified, you may want to say, okay, set to read only. Just make sure that site is completely redundant. Can only be viewed but cannot be edited. If that is fine, then you can now also give it the name and say live events ownership. Let's just call it ownership policy. So do you want to put it in simulation mode? You can put it as simulation mode, honestly, and then later you can come back to activate it. So you just want to come back here, and then you see this activate, you just click on activate, and that is it. So there are just a few things more that I want to show us, right, before we go. So, and that's on at site level. So if you come to active site, if you have a site that you never want Copilot to um, process information from the site, so how you do that is to come here, right? Go to setting, and then you say restrict content from M365 Copilot, and then you can save that. So this will help you make sure that Copilot would never have access to the content of this site. That's one thing. Then the second point I want to show us is also make sure that sites that are supposed to be private are private. If you come to setting, are private. Don't put a site that is supposed to be private as public, because if you do, Copilot may misbehave, right? So you need to take control of that. And again, also, you need to control the external sharing setting of your sites, so that you don't allow anyone, right? It is better that you reduce it to what can easily be controlled. Now, let's say files were mistakenly shared with people outside of the organization, and a lot of things were done out of control. How do you get to see those contents? How do you get to track if all these mistakes have happened, right? You can really come to reports, and if you have the SharePoint Advanced Management license, or if you have the M35 Copilot license, then you are going to have access to what is called data access governance. So in data access governance, you can view reports of the links that were shared. So if you come here, you will see anyone with the link, right, that were shared from your organization. You can really download the report if you have those links here. Across your organization, the most anyone with the link were created on this site. This page display up to 100 sites. You can download the CSV if that report is available. And the summary for the last 28 days, you will always see here. Number of site channels for site reports, number of sites fulfilling this criteria, and all of that. But I do not have that, as this is actually a test container. What about people in your organization with the link? You can actually do this. What about specific people link shared externally? You can also try to check this out. So apart from that, if you want to remove share with people in my organization, everyone in my organization except external users, then you want to use PowerShell to take care of that, right? So you may want to come here. So this particular link here um, is where you can set that. I think you have the command somewhere here. You check through this, set SPO site show everyone except external user to false. So you need to run this PowerShell, right? This PowerShell command after connecting to SharePoint Online Management PowerShell. Then you can run this. If you run this command, then it will hide the this user here where you have this. Unfortunately, I'm having issues with my SharePoint my PowerShell on this machine at the moment. So this idea of everyone except external user, you can use that command to hide that from the list of the sharing option available to users. So I hope this session was insightful to you. If you have questions, of course, you may just want to bring them up, and I'll be happy to attend to them. So thank you again for your time, and let's catch up again in the future. Cheers.